morning. Good morning. Hope everyone has had a great Christmas. We are now waiting for my counterpart for today's topic. So I hope that you guys had a wonderful Christmas and you guys are excited about New Year's to come. As we wait, I will just remind everybody that on this Saturday, Reptiles and Cocktails would not be at 1 p.m. Reptiles and Cocktails would be at 11 o'clock p.m. on Saturday the 24th. I meant Saturday the 31st because we'll be bringing in the New Year's on Reptiles and Cocktails. And already some of you guys had received some invites to join the stream that night. My goal is to kind of run down my year of Reptiles and Cocktails, pick my 12 top episodes, and then narrow it down to who the people's top 5 episodes were, and then who my top episode was that I enjoyed the most as a interviewer, and then what the people's top was. So that's going to be pretty exciting. And then whoever wins my choice of the top show for the year, it just will be a small surprise with that. So absolutely cannot wait for that. So welcome everybody who's already in chat. Hey Ron, hey Brittany. I hope you had a great holiday, Ron and Brittany. Pike, good morning, Justin. Are you off today, Justin? I hope so. Hey Nameless, good morning. Hey Brian, good morning, Brian. So the conversation today, or the communication today, is going to be the difference of tap training or hook training, what people call it, which is really tap training. A lot of people refer to hook training, so we refer to it as hook training in this topic itself. So tap training and target training was the main topic for today, and we're going to talk about the difference of the two. And I think it's very important to understand that there is a difference between tap training and hook training, because technically we never want to hook our snakes. Oh, good. Okay, Justin. Well, snakes, that's not really work. That's the fun stuff. Brittany said, well, it was okay. Would you have been better if we would have gotten the snake? Awesome. So a lot of people refer to hook training and tap training as the way that you go into an enclosure, and this is normally referred to bigger snakes like boas and up. There are people who actually use hooks and taps on ball pythons, and that may be necessary. I tell anybody, keep in mind that with whatever animal you're working with, it's very important to keep in mind that that animal you're working with needs to be comfortable with you, and you need to be comfortable with it in order to have a good experience that's going to make the animal want to engage with you and you engage with it. So I don't care if it's a ball python. If you got a little feisty ball python and you feel as though that tap training or hook training, it works for that ball python and your experience, perfect. With ball pythons, like for me, I may not hook them, but I'll use, if I have a little feisty one, I'll use a paper towel roll and I'll just put that in front of them, and it's just better for me and the snake. No need to get bit if you don't have to get bit. But a lot of times if you see that with ball pythons, they'll just ball up anyway. But all snakes not like that. You do that to a reticulated python or Burmese python, you may just engage in war. So you want to make sure that when you're hook training or tap training, that you, first of all, when you're doing it with the snake, read the snake first. Every snake doesn't need to be tapped or hooked. And sometimes if a snake already turned off their feeding response, you are irritating it by placing a hook or tapping it. So for me, I always watch and look at that body language. But if you're not good enough or have not experienced enough to understand that particular snake or species you're dealing with body language, then just simply don't use the hook part of the hook or whatever you have, the cold part. Use the warm part. Like, so if it's a handle on a hook, or if you have a longer paper towel, if you're dealing with a bigger snake, just gently touch it. Once the snake starts to retreat from you, pick it up. Don't hesitate with any of that, because once you start hesitating or you start like fidgeting, if the snake doesn't feel that you're confident, then the snake is not going to be confident. And so therefore that's when those impromptu reactive bites can happen. So once you go into the enclosure, whatever you're tapping with, because tapping just simply, I have snakes, if you heard me say that the taps, it's just my hand. I can put my hand on their back, and that's still telling them, okay, turn it off. Younger snakes, you may not want to do that because they're not that mature yet to be able to process the difference. They're still learning how, to eat. And so therefore they're a little bit more food aggressive sometimes, especially when you're dealing with like the smaller berms and the smaller, like dwarf-like retics and stuff like that. So you have to do that really quickly. Like for example, with a dwarf, what I learned with a dwarf retic, their food response is even stronger than the mainland sometimes. So therefore, when you go into their enclosures, it's a quick tap, and then pick them up. Now, target training is different. Target training, people use that a lot with like birds. Target training is when you actually take let's say a red flag or something, and it makes the animal turn towards that before you feed, or it makes the animal turn towards that to get them to go into the direction so that you can place their food in a very specific place. So there are differences between the two. However, both of them are very effective depending on which animals you use. There are some animals that tap training may not work for at all. It might just actually do the reverse. Like, example, a monitor. I would not tap train a monitor. You come at a monitor with a big hook, it's intimidating to them. This may not be the best way to approach a monitor. Are you in the stream, Dre, or do I have to do something?
So what? I'm in here.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning.
Merry Christmas or Merry Christmas.
Merry post Christmas.
So, yeah. So, I don't know how much Dre could hear, but I'm at my last my ending point of target training. And then, like I said, but then there's some like with tap training and target training that it may not work. It may work for this group or this species of animal, and it may not be what you want to do for this species of animal. So bottom line, hook training and tap training are simply just trying to turn off the food response for the animal to engage with it. But do that quickly when you're doing that. Like, it shouldn't be poking the animal with the hook or constantly tapping them. Once that food response is turned off and you see that snake goes into flight mode, you pick them up. But target training is, in my experience, is used more for teaching an animal or trying to feed an animal or trying to get an animal to divert to one direction by using something that triggers them to go in that direction prior to engagement. But Dre, you can hop in when you're ready.
Yeah. I was just listening to you, seeing where we at.
Let's see. Brittany's. Okay, I got that one. I just want to. Hey, good morning, Wiz. Hope you had a good Christmas. Hope baby boy had a good Christmas. Hope he smiled on Christmas. Learn the eye movement and reactions of the people. So yes, Justin, and that's the thing. So that's honestly, if you can master body language of the snake that you're handling, and if I would tell you, if it's anything that you should, other than basic husbandry, but learning and understanding how your snake moves and your snake looks when it's going to do this, or what your snake body does when it's about to do this, is the greatest benefit ever, because that's the key to not having to hook train, tap train, or target train. If you can go into your snake's enclosure and you can read what they're doing with their body, like typically retics, if they're coming out and they kind of flop their head, you good to go. Long as they, acknowledge you, that tongue start to move and they advance some way and drop their head, you're good to go. Now, what you don't want, if it's coming up like 3 feet off the ground, you don't want to engage then. Or if it has not acknowledged you to the point that you get the tongue flickering, like, and that's for burns too. You want to see, and not just burns, ball pythons. If y'all been paying attention, that tongue flick thing applies to them too. So if a snake pretty much is not thinking, that's when you're in that danger mode. If a snake is sleeping, you're in that danger mode. If a snake is wanting to eat, you're in that danger mode. But at the end of the day, if you can get them into what we call like that flight mode, some people call it fright mode. I don't call it that. I just think it's, sometimes I think even with the larger snakes, they're just trying to find a way for it to be easier for you to maneuver them too. But yeah, so once they're out of those modes, there's no reason to kind of rethink that process. That's one thing I even learned with, the green tree. When I have him out, once he is like, he takes that first strike, I know he's not going to strike again unless somebody do something that's going to prompt him to strike again. But other than that, typically he doesn't strike again after that. If he strikes at all lately, because I'll be honest, the last few times, he hasn't. But I will say that with the retic specifically, or the berms, or the boas, once you've got them to a point where you turn the full response off, you're typically good as long as they acknowledge the fact that you're there.
I definitely agree. I hook
I should
train.
scream to wake you up. I should just make a big like.
No, I'm woke, but we had a party last night, and my nieces are right here in this room asleep, so I'm trying not to be too loud.
Okay.
But I hook train majority of my snakes, and I say majority because I don't believe all snakes can be hook trained. My green tree and my emerald are not going for it, with them being on the perch, and that's why it's important to have removable perches for them, because like you said, you open that door, you let them get that first reaction out, then you can reach in and do what you need to do. But as far as, since we deal with the same, type of snakes, retics and berms, like heavy bodied snakes, I think is very important to establish that. Me personally, I'm great at reading my own snakes, but I want my snakes to always know this is the routine, because I feel like there's certain points where people get too comfortable, and whether it's a venomous snake or not, it's still a snake, and people get too comfortable to where they feel like they can reach right in there because they read the snake wrong. So I don't care how long I've had my snakes, I will always use a snake hook first, just because it's going to keep me safe, number one, but also it's less stressful on the snake, because not to mention, as much as we talk about reading our snakes are going to read us too. And as soon as we do something different, they could mistake it for something else as well. So I always reach into my enclosures with the hook first. I don't necessarily tap. I just kind of like rub them a little bit and see, like, if they jump up, I'm like, okay, cool. That lets me know they thought it was food. And then after that, I pick them up with the hook and we good. Um, as far as tap training, I don't know if you got into that just yet, but as far as tap training, um, I haven't really, at least for me, I don't really have a real reason to use it. At least I've seen tap training used more so, a lot more with bigger monitors and lizards. I've seen people
You
use it
mean
for
target
snakes.
training?
Yeah, I'm sorry, target training. I'm target training. I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm still asleep. But I've seen people mostly use it for, big lizards, and I've seen it used with some snakes. I don't know. This is just my opinion. I don't feel like it's necessarily necessary for snakes, because I feel like the hooks work just fine. But I mean, it depends on the person. Some people feel like, mm, I don't know. I've gotten to like debates with people about the whole target training for snakes, and some people feel like, it's a good way to for the snake to display their intelligence, which is dope. But I feel like you still kind of get the same reaction out of a hook, because yeah, I don't know. Well, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah,
Lizards, I
I
get it,
get
but
target
snakes, I'm
training
just
with
like,
certain
eh.
types of snakes. Like if you have a king cobra, you might want to target train that one before you feed. But I don't have anything that I own that I would need to target train, including the monitors. For me, the way that I maintained for my monitors when they were younger was actually feeding them from my hand, feeding
Mm-hmm.
them directly. Like that's when you know that they're comfortable with you actually if they take food out of your hand. But I will also add, like, to go back what Dre said, so there are snakes that I can read so well that I never use, I never tap, I never hook. I have snakes that I can, like, you heard me say this, I can open the door, and once I open the door, they'll advance to come out on their own, and I don't have to do anything. I will say that that experience is going to be based on what type of snakes that you own, because I would say to Elias' comment, I have 95% of my retics are no longer need a tap, hook, or anything before I enter. But my boas, every boa I have to. It's not even a question. Like there's not a boa, and I'm serious. Like there's not a boa. Even my calmest boa, if I open the enclosure right now, I would, even if it could see me, even if it could acknowledge me, I would not put my hand right in there. I think boas, their food response is definitely a little stronger and different than most, and people don't give them the respect
Yes.
that they need when it comes to that.
Yeah, I
So
that's
if you
shot.
take
So
anything away, don't just go reaching in your boas. I will tell you that. And I'm being honest, I have retics I can do that with, and I don't have not one boa, not the small boa, not the big boa, that I just go in and put my hand in.
it's the only snakes that I really have to make sure I hook no matter what are my berms and my anaconda. Um, the cow, she's I'm still reading her. I use a hook now just since I'm still reading her. With those berms, for sure, because they're so vocal, and I don't want to. No matter if I feel like they're gonna bite or not, I don't want to piss them off on the wrong day and just reach in there. Especially not Zeus, because Zeus ain't a little snake. But my boas usually do fine. Bane, Luther, I definitely hook just because that dude is bipolar. Because but I think Luther's the perfect snake that I use as an example because there's literally days where I'll open his enclosure and I'm like, all right, cool, I need to pull you out, or let's say we're gonna do a YouTube video, and I'll take the hook and I'll get the rubbing his head and he'll just let out this loud hiss, and I'm just like, okay, you're not to be fucked with right now. You're not in the mood. All right, I'll leave you alone. Other than that, the rest of my boas are usually fine for the most part. But it's dope that you have your retics to the point where you don't have to hook them.
but
I'm
but I'm telling you, it's they're the easier of the species other than the ball pythons. I'm not talking about them to get that way to me. Like that's my thing. My thing is because their ability to think is so way more advanced. That's how when you raise up like the ones that you're raising from babies. If you're tapping them now, eventually they get it. They can see it. You can put it up to their clothes. They can see it, and they'll just boas. I don't. Well, not my boas. It's not one of them that I feel as though that going up to them saying, and here's the no. Like every time I open it, they think they're going to eat, and then when you do tap them, now I can use different things to tap them. If they turn this way, I can use my hand to tap them, but
right.
I'm not just going in there and like saying, "Come on." I
Now
don't have
raw
not one
dogging.
bow I can do that with, and I'm being honest.
So, um, I think I finally got a snake that acts almost identical to retics, and it's not a retic.
The scrub.
Yes, they are smart as shit. And so the bar neck, which is the bigger one I have, Namor, I opened his tub the other day, and I'm going to change his water, and he's coiled up on his hide, and he like sits up like a cobra and just literally is watching me. And as it's happening, I'm interested, but I'm scared as fuck at the same time because I don't know what's about to go down. Because I wasn't messing with him, I wasn't going to grab him, but he literally like coiled and sat up like a cobra and was just staring. And I was like, this is some freaky shit. Like I've never seen this before. But to see like it was crazy because he turned his head to the side and I could see his eye moving. And I was like, what the fuck is going on with this damn snake? But the the it's like you can see the processing of what I'm doing in his face, and that is one snake that I have to use a hook with, simply because he's new. I'm still learning him, and he he's not horrible. He's never struck at me, but he just looked like he on go mode. But if he does that again, I'm gonna have to take a picture and send it to you because dude was just literally coiled. I've never seen any snake besides like a cobra on TV do that. But to see it in person, it's unnerving because you like, oh, like
And you
you
never
feel like
noticed that with
something's
your
about.
retakes?
No, not at all. My
Yeah,
retics are
you
just
that then you not paying them no attention because they are very. That's like I'm serious. Like
oh,
any retic owner will tell you that is exactly what I talked about that. That's a retic who's learning you, who's not comfortable. That's exactly what they do all day long. So I was just even telling somebody yesterday. That's why I recommend that you put your retics in a place where you are a lot of time. Because if you got a defensive retic or a retic who is not yet comfortable with you,
mhm.
they will literally sit there all day where you are. If you there all day, and they're gonna do nothing but watch you, just like that. Wherever, everywhere you go in that particular room.
My
I
retics
also
isn't
think Dre. I mean, she don't do it now, but the baby carpet did that for a minute.
c- carpets are smart, and so for a while carpets and scrubs were actually in the same family before they reclassified scrubs and gave them their own classification. Um, but my retics are they don't really. I mean, they're not as reactive as the scrub is.
Well, that's probably because they're not as defensive. Because I would
Yeah,
tell
it
you
could
that
be because
a retake who has not figured out where they are or are not comfortable where they are, that's exactly what they do. Like
mm,
find
look,
that place and watch you all day.
when I tell you, it's funny because I meant to reach out to you, but I think I had to. I was trying to get some stuff done because I had to go finish some Christmas shopping. I meant to hit you up and tell you about it.
It's new
But
to get
man, it was interesting to see though for sure because it's dope to see how different animals react to different things and see how animals process things because boas is just gonna be like
Yeah, I mean
they're
they
just gonna
look,
stay
but
at,
not like
they just
they
gonna
don't
stay at
care.
you.
Like once
But,
you out of there peripheral, like they don't care after that point.
but
They
don't
not
get it
like where
twisted.
you go.
But don't get it twisted. They're quick as fuck.
Oh yeah.
Boas are quick as fuck. But they give warning usually, or you're gonna know that they're about to strike at you. This scrub was looking like he was looking like the snake from Jafar's staff on Aladdin because homeboy was
That's
like
like
on
Jeremy's
some other
carpet that day. What my mom was supposed to be going to touch Jeremy's carpet for the first time. When I walked in there, I swear that snake was like, "I dare you. I wish you would come in here." It
man.
was just like, and he even said he was like, "Zena acting totally different." I said, "Yeah," and I'm not going in there. So,
So
do y'all have iguanas falling off the trees right now, Zach and Stan?
24. That's spring weather. That ain't nothing.
Yeah, it's been crazy here the last couple
We
of
was down
days,
to we was down to negative what 10.
which is now a negative 100 in that place.
Man, listen. I went to I ain't never been so cold in my life. I had to go somewhere and I went to go brush off my car and I
That's why I
couldn't
don't
feel
go
my
out.
fingers. I was like, oh shit. I had to run back in the house and run with some hot water. It was bad. No, I had to go. But I had to go make sure the snakes was cool, make sure the heat was on, and 'cause it was cold. But everybody was cool.
Yeah, it's
We
been crazy.
we
We just been like double checking to make sure that nothing happens in the garage and that the temperatures
yeah
stay up. And
we sealed the window and then we put like a little like wind strip under the door so no cold air could get in. So I wanted to go up there to make sure that everything was like still cool, and it was. I walked in that shop and it was beautiful in there. I sat there for a minute like,
Wisconsin is cold anyway, Gershon.
hell
So
yeah, they
negative.
make cheese. It's gonna be
Wisconsin, we had
cold.
to stop there to lay over one time going to Vegas or somewhere we was going. I can't remember where it was. And I'm like, the airport was cold. Inside the airport, I'm like, damn, it's
Listen,
cold here.
yes, it ain't been cold like this since I was a kid. It ain't been this cold here for a minute.
Wow.
A
That's
lot of people be like,
crazy.
"Oh, don't y'all get snow every year?" We don't. I mean, we get snow, but not by Christmas every year. No, we usually don't get our snow till like end of January,
February. Yeah,
February.
that's
Like,
like a
it
week.
didn't stay
That's when
here
we normally get
forever.
our real snow
Yeah,
anyway.
that's what I'm saying. That snow we got right now, I don't know. It's pretty legit. You know what I'm saying? But the the snow isn't the problem. It's the cold. The cold is the issue. I don't care about the snow because I know how to drive. The
Right.
cold is the problem. Like, man, it's
So it was so
no, no,
funny.
no,
My
no.
cousin-in-law, she posted a meme yesterday talking about, come on, we ready to call Florida and telling them to send us 30 degrees. And I posted a comment
Hey,
said, Florida said they ain't got it. And don't call Texas and don't either.
man, where Candy and Dominique at, man? Yeah, it's everybody was cold. Yeah, I wasn't for it. But like, you couldn't even go out and build a snowman. Like, nah, it's too cold.
It's too cold. Yeah, I don't like to go. I hate the winter. I am not. I'm the person who really should live somewhere where it's like 70 to 80 all year long. But then y'all banned all my reptiles, so that's why I'm stuck here in Maryland. I'm serious. Like
People
the
ask me all
places
the
that
time.
should be banning my reptiles, banned my reptiles.
People ask
And
me all the
Texas is just
time.
too far for my grandkids to get on the plane right
People
now.
ask me all the time, why don't you just move? Because the laws is good and I got a winter fucking coat. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
I got hats and
And
gloves.
that's
Like,
it. Because I really should
hey,
live somewhere where the temperatures are
because trust me, I
warm.
wanted to move to either Texas or Florida, either or. But with these laws, I'm just like, damn, another
Yeah.
fucking winter.
Like it's like
We got
all the
one.
places that normally wouldn't be.
Okay, we
We
got a
got
bot
we
in
got a
here.
bot. A lot of places that wouldn't be
Thank you.
um that I would want to be are places that were reptile friendly years ago, and now that those places are no longer. Which again, guys, if y'all want to see how the world has changed, so me growing up, the Floridas, the Georgias, the South Carolinas, the North Carolinas, all of that, the Texas, the Californias, all of those were places where if you were a reptile person, that you should live. And then as the years progressed, it progressed to those places having restrictions for the same reasons in their heads anyway, for the same reasons why it was places where when I grew up or other people grew up would want to have gone with the reptiles that we have. It's insane, like, and that's where like USARK is so important because I get to see, the differences, approaching 50. I remember when reptile keeping was so much more free and restrictive in a lot of places. I remember when a lot of these laws came into place. And I get nervous when I see some of the stuff that comes up now because people don't think that it's possible for them to say that you can no longer have this. But
Facts.
some of us lived through those changes and restrictions.
And to keep it honest, they got there now. We got something in Virginia. Virginia is only 2 states over from me, so it's getting closer and closer. And I don't think it's like people don't understand. Once one state adopts something, the states surrounding are going to do the same thing, and it's slowly spreading. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, I don't think, and I hope Ohio wouldn't do anything because we already have our bans. We already have what needs a permit. So basically, what everybody's going through now we already went through, and they didn't ban anything crazy. Like, they didn't ban anything. I feel like everything that they banned shouldn't be pets anyway. Tigers, lions, full blown alligators. Like, where are you going to keep that shit in Ohio? So that doesn't necessarily bother me. We have to get permits for snakes 12 foot and bigger. Dwarf caiman are legal. So like I said, the the laws here are cool. I don't mind them, but yeah, everywhere else they're just banning shit. They just like,
Yeah.
okay,
And,
nope.
and they're getting more and more like looking at that new proposal to ban in Florida. Like every animal, including ball pythons, are on that.
And speaking on that, I don't know how a lot of y'all feel about Kevin McCurley, but if you watch his lives, dude is insightful and he speaks on a lot of these issues
Facts.
because um, a lot of people want to act like it's not going to happen to them or it can't, but it is. And we look at people who literally had to give up their whole collections because it did happen to them. We're trying to prevent that. And I'm telling you, if you watch Kevin McCurley's live, he literally explains everything that you start put in that language. And he even explains stuff that wasn't put in there because we need to
Mm-hmm.
understand it. And he breaks down how, a lot of the times FWC, no matter what state you're in, is basically on some bullshit. And again, he also brings up the point where a lot of people aren't supporting, they're not showing up, which is why they're passing this shit.
And
So he's
that's
trying
the
to,
biggest thing with Florida. Florida could have shut this stuff down years ago. And
yeah.
you have most of your breeders in Florida. You
Hmm.
have most of your animal keepers in Florida, and no one shows up. And so at the end of the day, like that has to be a priority because Florida is the epicenter of reptiles. Like
Hmm.
we cannot stress that enough. And so we can say support USR Florida all as much as we want. If we don't see, or people who in Tennessee don't see that the people of Florida are not showing up, then those people tend to not support. So you guys should like be like showing up in big ways out there. Big ways out there.
It's
I would be creating like, and I made that comment. If I was in Florida, we would be organizing our own little protests, outside
and
of
that's
FWC.
I don't know if you saw Kevin's last live last week. Well, it wasn't his last live, but one of his lives
I was
last
going to
week
say yeah, because he had
where
several.
he talked about basically having he was like, I'm in New Hampshire, but I'm still trying to, he wants to have like people actually go down in Florida where they have like a big town hall and just basically discuss a lot of shit and see how, they can, nullify a lot of these situations with the FWC. And the crazier part is there's an estimated 4.5 million reptile keepers just in the United States. Why do we only have a couple thousand members of USR? It doesn't make any sense.
I mean, it's that to me is just absurd. But again, I think that it's a way to regulate that. And again, my proposal is that anybody who purchases an animal, whether online or from a store, is required to get a membership. It's almost like Dre, you into guns. Not that we're required,
Hmm.
but anybody who gets a gun, the first thing they think after they get the gun, they get their permit to carry,
Carry. Hmm.
the USCAA automatically comes to your head. Whether you
Facts.
decide to purchase it or not, like where have you purchased and you don't see that? Whether it's a holster, whatever. Like I don't care who I've ordered a holster from, whatever. You get that information. If you go on YouTube right now and start looking up females who shoot, for example, you're going to start to automatically start to see USCAA pop up in your feed. We have to make USR like somehow the algorithm and the purchasing of animals have to be all in one.
But you know what I don't understand? I feel like it would be definitely helpful. Expos, especially
Good
these
morning,
big shows.
Keys.
Keys was popping. Especially these big shows. I feel like why don't we have any of these, snake vendors promoting US art? Like I understand they have their own table, but not everybody will stop by the USR table, especially if they don't know what they do or anything like that. But if you over here selling snakes, why not be helping sign up members to USARC as well? Because at the end of the day, they're only looking out for you. And again, it's not expensive. So
Well,
I
I
feel
can tell
like,
you that one time in Hamburg, I actually asked them to announce, that it was a table in there. Someone had a table set up. And
mhm,
when I tell you, I have to remind them like 4 times. I'm like, this should be a priority. You got all these people here. It was one of the first ones after COVID, or during COVID. It was one of the most packed ones ever. And I'm
Hmm.
like, and at that time, that's when the Lacey Act was like really, really like flaring up and everything. And we were trying to get people to promote it and sign up. And I'm like, 4 times I have to ask, like, it should be automatic. Um, I know that there's a lot of vendors who have it on their shipping packages or stuff that they put in their shipping packages, but I think that it should be part of your checkout. When you check out on Morph Market, you should
Like,
have to verify that you are a U.S. ARC member. Like, it should be required. I don't. If you want to own an animal, it should be required.
and that's what I'm saying. I'm surprised that nobody's talked about that or nobody's figured that out yet. Because honestly, I feel like that's how you appeal to the masses. I mean, shows like, especially shows like Tinley, Daytona, the Reptile Super Show, those big shows. This is where we need to really push USARK because I mean, at the end of the day, we can do and say what we want all day online, but at those shows, you're face to face with people. You can get them to sign up directly, and I really don't understand, why or maybe like a vendor run a show, like if you buy a snake and you automatically get enrolled to be a member or something, because at the end of the day, strength in numbers, and it definitely means something. Even it doesn't take a lot of money to be a
Or
USARK member.
if you introduce that person to the membership, like if you buy the snake, you automatically get a free enrollment to US ARC, sign up right here.
Yeah.
Then that person will be inclined to renew or not renew. But even if that person doesn't renew, for example, at least for a year, for every snake that you sold, there's going to be 12-month membership for that person.
Hmm.
So yeah, so it's definitely like so many ways, but I just first of all we have to all get into unison that regardless of what we think about the entity, that we all have to support it because a lot of it's out there.
Facts.
And MJ talked about it; he touched on it the other day on his show. I know exactly what he's talking about. There are some big vendors out there who may have had experience that because they donate a lot of money, who has questions, and not saying that they should not, because that's not my business. But my thing is like this and everything else that I put into. I don't know what they do with the money when I pay my life insurance. I don't know what the hell they do with the money when I pay my car insurance. I am convinced that car insurance is a waste of money because I pay money, and if you do have an accident, they're going to charge you more money anyway. So I'm just totally confused where a lot of our money go. But I can say this, that the fact that we do know at least 6, 7, 8 times a year, or 6 times a year, that they're promoting one of the biggest auctions. We know that because we're there and we see them, right? Across the country. That costs money. We know that none of us show up in court to fight any of this. And if you ever had to retain an attorney, it's a lot to even get 15 minutes of a conversation on the phone. It's a few $100s. So I think that we have to come and think on the same plane. We definitely have to come to a common ground, and there should be some type of requirement that if you own a reptile,
Hmm.
like I'm all for that. If you own a reptile in the United States, you must be a member of the USR.
I
I'm
feel like
all for it.
I feel like it's really important, especially for us people who keep the bigger species of snakes because that's what they're targeting. So the scrubs, the retics, the berms, the African rocks, and we have to we have to understand that we can't leave it up to chance. We can't leave it up to the government because these are people that are making laws about animals that they have no education about. And and again, when they threw that original proposal out there in Florida, basically, saying that certain animals could survive all the way up to Maine. I assure you not. The weather that we're having right now, none of my snakes will be able to survive it. I guarantee it. It is negative. Was it? I'm sorry. It's 12 degrees right now, and the high is 15. Ain't no snake surviving. I don't care how sturdy the
Right.
snake is.
They not even
No,
surviving those temperatures inside the house. So
but
let
but
alone outside.
but again, you have politicians that believe that they can. So therefore, they outlaw them. I mean, we have a ban on snakeheads. They
Agreed.
won't even let you keep a snakehead in your damn house, a fish. So it goes to show you strength in numbers, and we got to support. I mean, I don't understand like why get into a hobby but don't want to do your part to make sure that you can keep your hobby.
Right.
Like it doesn't make any sense.
And the thing is that it's just like anything else. You only going to invest in what you truly love. And at the end of the day, if you own a reptile, you have to be a person who love the animals. With all the challenges that we are posed with every day to maintain the livelihood of these animals, the person who's going to provide extra electric bills for that animal is the person who would provide a minimum membership. Like, I'm not saying everybody has to have platinum, gold
Yeah,
status.
right.
Right, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Listen,
just the
I'm a
minimum.
bronze
The
member
minimum
myself.
makes you a member.
You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I support. I still donate, but it's just like I don't question anything about the finances because, like you said, I can't get down to Florida to help fight. I can't. I can't do anything. And again, if Ohio was to ever propose such a thing, I'm not my YouTube for however long that they got this proposal going on is going to be about what they're doing, how I'm doing anything I can to try to stop it, and whatever. So I think it's also that there's not as many reptile keepers as it is in Florida. Still, like not a lot of people talking about it, and I don't know. I think this is just
That's
my
pretty
personal opinion.
dope.
I think a
Lakeisha
lot
just
of it.
posted. Going forward, every snake I sell to someone, if they're a U.S. SOC member, I'll give them a discount. And for each one who isn't, I'll take that portion. So that's what I'm saying. Like, that's, like that on a Morph Market banner, you know what I'm saying, would attract people, especially new people.
Post that on Instagram so I can share it to my story too.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, and it's not going to hurt nobody.
Mm-mm.
Nobody to
All
just
right,
do
we're not
that. You
we're not
know.
we're not asking people to sign up for no underground child trafficking rings.
Right,
Like, you know what I'm
exactly. Or
saying? And
donate to a GoFundMe.
and
You
that's
know
the
what I
that but
mean?
the crazy part is people will sign up for OnlyFans to see some random girl's body. You know what I'm saying? But don't want to sign up for your hobby. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Right.
So I don't like the fact that people are like, well, I don't know where the money is going. We pay taxes. We don't know where that money's going either. But regardless, we're not gonna sit here and act like we don't get to actually talk to US Art. We don't actually get to, interact with him. Because I met Phil Goss. I know you met Phil Goss.
Right.
Stand up dude. I don't have no issues. If I ever questioned where the money was going, I wouldn't be donating.
But like I said, and even when you meet him, he's not somewhere set up at the bar. He is working the
And
entire
he
time.
and even then he don't shy away from the questions. If you ask him the question, he's gonna let you know.
Right.
But I don't
But
think
the financial statements are on the website too. So if you're a member, you get to see all of that. Like, so I don't understand. I mean,
but
that's
even
how
then
we know
though,
there's not enough members.
he don't is if there was ever a doubt that US Arc wasn't doing what they were supposed to do, I highly doubt that we would be doing auctions raising the money that we can because we be raising money. Tinley, they be raising money. I
Yeah.
mean, their auction is don't get me wrong, we have a good time, we have fun, but that's only a part of what we're doing.
Right.
They raise hella money. So
Right.
again, you pay taxes whether you want to or not. I don't understand how all of a sudden, well, I don't know where the money's going. To you.
Like I said, the fact that you don't show up, that you don't have to show up and someone is still there. The fact that someone's reading through all of this stuff, because I don't know about y'all, but even when it pops up, I'm like, look, I just need to get to the point. You know what I'm saying? Like, what is it saying in a nutshell? I'm not reading all those paragraphs, but
Right.
somebody at USR is.
And a lot of it is like political jargon that we're not going to understand anyway. We like, what the
Right.
fuck is they talking about? They got like the thesis, which is a bunch of political mess, and then you got to read through all of this political terminology. You like, listen, I didn't go, to law school. What they saying? What animals they banning?
Like, what does this mean to me? Get to
I'll be like,
the
and
bottom
it'd be,
line.
it'd be like page
Give
4.
me
I'll be
a
like,
list of
oh,
animals
okay.
they
I'll
trying
be
to
like, oh,
ban.
okay. Read shit. Here we go. As soon as I
But
see it, I'm like, here we
somebody
go.
reads through that's how they found that little clause in the Lacey Act. Somebody
Yeah.
literally reading line by line by line. We're not doing that. It's priceless. So just think of this. Think about the animals you have in your collection right now. And let's say if you hit the minimum $40 membership. If someone came in from the U.S. government and said we have to take all of your animals right now, how much money do you lose? Think about it. How much money do you lose when those animals walk out the door and they're being euthanized? They're not being rehomed. How much money do you lose? And that's what people should think about. I can tell people you taking losses on one animal. I don't care what kind of little animal you have, little reptile you have. You're taking a loss if you got a leopard gecko that you paid $110 for. You're taking a loss.
Well, I ain't paying $110 for no gecko anyway, so that's gonna be an L either way.
I'm just saying.
That you raise a good point, because I look at a lot of the snakes that I keep, and I know I've paid some fucking money. You know what I'm saying? And for the amount of snakes that I have, I just be looking like I could probably buy a house if I sold these motherfuckers. Like it's a lot, and it's crazy that people. But I think a lot of it also comes from, you know, bigger influencers who have reptiles that don't support USR, because people can't think for themselves and they just rather go on YouTube and listen to what somebody else has to say. Oh, well, this guy has a big following, so he must know what he's talking about.
It should be a requirement, and one day I hope it is. I'm telling you, I think that's the negotiation. If USR can say to these legislations across the nation in the government to say, we will make sure that every person of reptile ownership in the United States are members of USR, and that we communicate through USR the laws of each state of animal keeping, and the person is required to be a member. And they help track it. I think it will create some type of camaraderie. And all of this, you can't have this, you can't have this, you can't have that, can go away.
Yeah, I think also it would instead of just banning reptiles, I feel like they need to put together maybe, because I mean honestly I do feel like we need to police our own people. Instead of just having, you know, some random outside. So what if USR had like their own like sector in every state, which I know is asking a lot. This is just a way far-fetched idea. But what if USR had their own like sector, kind of like I'm gonna say the ATF, but I know whatever. But if they had like their own like little group, you know, because I understand that's what the Fish and Wildlife is supposed to do.
Kind of like the NRA is.
It's kind of like, you know, the NRA, but for reptile people. Basically, you go through this checklist, and if they feel that they need to come check and see how your setups are, then yeah, cool. Because if something is wrong, then yes, take their fucking animals. Right. Because not everybody deserves to keep reptiles. But also, it's a good way for them to see, okay, cool. This person is a USR member. Okay, cool. That's a red flag. Let's check on this. You know, and I don't know. Maybe if you keep reptiles, you have some type of permit that way they can keep. I don't know, but I think there's definitely a better alternative than just banning shit.
Absolutely. Or like you said, if it's a certain animal, let's say animals on this list need a permit and blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying?
Or animals on this list need a permit and you need to be a member of USR.
Right.
But I don't know. It's basically.
Well, I just feel like again, there are people who benefit who don't contribute, and
we already know that.
When everything goes right, everything goes positive, they're excited. Okay, it goes away. But when everything goes negative, they're not reactive either, and that's my issue. Like, either, you know, how shit will get off the pot. Like, literally, that there are people who are in this who love their animals so much that it's a priority in life. And it's just not fair that those same people get the benefit, but they don't contribute. I get the people who are not educated, and I love the fact that so many of us are bringing awareness, because you're seeing people on posts that's saying I didn't know, or people, I got a membership the other day because of the post that y'all made the other day or whatever.
Right,
So
right.
awareness is important. So where I think we are all responsible is that we need to bring more awareness and consistently. And so I think that, like, even over the last few weeks on Instagram, like us committing to just doing one post a week, it's bringing awareness. At the end of a video, it's bringing awareness. When you have it tagged in every video, it's bringing awareness. Somebody watching your video on YouTube who see US Arc plugged in your video is going to question what is US Arc at some point. Not everybody, just like half of them don't go through all of your content, but
Right.
enough of them will see it to spark, and then they'll see it over and over again. And at the anything, when everybody is start to advertising and everybody putting out, it creates this fear of missing out. So that's that whole FOMO thing. So
Right.
it'll create more members because they'll feel like they're missing out on something. Just like how they say everybody's becoming a ball python breeder. That's because ball python breeders for a long time were underground, many years ago. They were not in the forefront. Now social media sees that everybody is a ball python breeder. So what's happening? There's people who are fearing of missing out, and it's becoming more ball python breeders.
And
It's
you can
no
tell.
difference of anything else,
You
So
can tell who those trendy breeders
trendy,
are.
right? Exactly, and that's the culture
Versus
now. If it's
oh, for
in,
sure.
then that's what we do, what they do.
Man, listen.
So yeah, definitely. You definitely have to make it. I mean, and it starts with the like you said, the vendors. I go there, when you're actually selling animals, whether you're a pet store, whether you're a private breeder, that should be a conversation, or it should be in your paraphernalia. It should USR stickers or whatever should be in there. Now I can tell you that if you get anything from Nerd, for example, is US Arc stickers in
Or
it in
or
their box.
even something better. So it's not so forceful on people. Have every vendor at a show have maybe some paper applications where they can fill them out and mail them in. Because that way you can send home some language for them to understand what they're signing up for, what their options are, and getting to know who they're supporting. Just a little paper, your name, your address, sending your donation, whatever the case may be. I mean, something, because online is cool, but I feel like if you send them home with something, it'll remind them, like, oh shit, I need to do this. I definitely feel like that would help as well. But something definitely needs to be done than just having a USR table and an auction, because cool, we're raising money, but if we have more members, we'll raise more money to keep
Mm-hmm.
fighting. And
And
10,000
everything
members
doesn't
ain't
have to
nothing.
be a huge auction. Like, I mean, even at the Hamburgs, for example, all those people who come in Hamburg, if you did at the end of every show, if you donate $10, you enter a drawing to win this snake or that. If you get one vendor to donate an animal, there's so many ways to do it. I think it's just that there's such a selfish mindset behind what we do. I think that we have to put it first,
Mm-hmm.
exactly, the education piece. And how many younger vendors are at those smaller shows, like steak to steak shows? Forget the big NARBCs. There's a bunch of children there. But even in our little local shows, that's when most families come with all their children to the
Right.
reptile shows. So that's the best place to start educating.
Look, we've all ran into that teenage, ball python keeper that's, just getting into it and he's getting his projects together. Those are the people that we should go at it, because those are the people that plan on being in the industry for a long time.
Right.
And those are going to be our future breeders and future keepers. So definitely those, people like that are the people that, we should be going after. But I don't know. It's getting wicked out here, y'all.
Yeah. Yeah, and I encourage you all, before we shut this down, to look at the recent proposal for Florida and Georgia, specifically Florida. Um, if that passes in any kind of way, I'm going to say that the reptile industry as a whole is going to have a major shift. A major shift. That particular one will affect Florida breeders for sure. And again, one thing I can tell you, we always say Florida has the most breeders that can kind of like just come together. I think that that's important to coordinate that, and you guys walking in, kicking that door. Don't wave the 4-4. Just kicking the door, and have that dialogue. I mean, the people in Florida, the breeders in Florida, are very intelligent. You know, we get exposed to a lot of them. They're very articulate, and they've been around long enough to be able to spit that history, like the Kevin McCurleys and things like that. So I think it's important that we show that variation from young and old of who that reptile keeper is, and the importance and the responsibilities that can be applied amongst everyone to just keep responsibly. And can we just stop having this conversation? Like, I just would love one day where, like, there's nobody meeting right now about dogs. You know, even pit bulls and Rottweilers, it is what it is now. You don't hear a bunch of meetings going on about them. I would like to get to a place where you're holding the individual person accountable for the animal, not holding the whole country accountable.
I disagree with that one. I disagree with that one.
Elijah said, I'm seeing a lot of my local breeders at shows with USR postcards for people to take. Nashville shows are big USR people. Cool.
You hear me? I agree
My
with that
9-year-old nephew knows how important USR is. He can tell you. Right. But, you know, and again, it's just that education. And even with as simple as that, you know, when you're having that child that comes over and they're playing with your snakes or whatever, and they got all these questions, that's when you start to bring those conversations up for them as well. Yeah, so Dre just posted at the bottom that these are all now live on Anchor, it is Spotify.
Yep. If you this link will take you to everything, but you can get it on Spotify as well. I'm still working on Apple Podcasts for whatever reason. I'm having trouble with Apple Podcasts, but I want to go back to this comment I disagree with simply because
well dang.
I'm sorry. I didn't want to go too far because
I was like, wait a minute. Go ahead.
Now, if we're talking specialty reptile stores, most definitely. But if we're talking Petco's, PetSmarts, Pet Supply, definitely not, because they don't even know how to properly take care of their animals. So I feel like, first off, we need to educate them on how to properly take care of it versus looking at the animal as a dollar before they can even be a USARC member, because USARC also helps promote proper husbandry and the proper care of reptiles. At the end of the day, the number one priority of USARC and, keepers is proper husbandry and making sure the animal is not only surviving but thriving. I don't feel like chain pet stores do that. So, I mean, like I said, if we're talking reptile stores, most definitely. But I'm only saying that because I used to work at a pet store, and just to see like a lot of the things that actually do happen, not even just to reptiles, are just kind of like, it's I'm not the biggest fan, but that's all I wanted to say. But that's it.
I think they still should be required to be members. The educational piece is a whole separate thing, but yeah, I think they still should be required. Like, I don't think that you should be able to profit off of selling animals that you're not a member of USR, because they still get the profit off it. Now, the educational piece, that's something totally different. But again, if it, I just think that this reptile thing could be bigger on so many levels than it actually is. So you could actually have like a USARC, which is a part of the United States government. Let's use that example, right? And that's their jobs. You hire people who literally go around to the pet stores to make sure that we're keeping animals, even as temporarily, because in the credit, the pet stores are keeping them temporarily for sale. So what are those standards? You know what I'm saying? Because we can't expect a pet store to keep to the same standards that we keep them, right? But what are you feeding them? How are you feeding them? Who's responsible? How are you guaranteeing the health and the cleanliness of those animals? Those requirements can be there. The other part would be, I do agree, and I think that if the United States, if USARK was like a part of the United States government, like, work alongside with them. The other piece that you talked about, the educational piece, it could be a part of USARK to educate through their process, just like kind of FDA. When FDA comes out and they go to a restaurant, they're not just trying to come to shut it down. They're trying to they give you the information that you need so that you can perform to a better standard, and they come back and then they recheck. And then at that point, if that's an issue, then that's what happens. That's what we need for reptile keeping. If Nicole Tisdale, reticulated python, gets out into the neighbor's yard, eats the neighbor's dog, not saying that Nicole Tisdale's animal should be taken away. But if there is some type of inspection that needs to be done on Nicole Tisdale home, if Nicole Tisdale did not have a required permit, if one was required, then her animal will be taken away, like that type of responsibility. No different than we do with, like I said, with our dogs and our cats. If my dog go and bite somebody, the first question is, do they have their rabies shot? We have to respond to that. Where's the animal record? Those are things that you respond to. That should be the same thing we're required to do. Now, what I don't want to see is that the government trying to make money off of that, because that's where it becomes iffy. Because then now you're required to take your animals to a vet to get certain shots that it don't need. Because I still think dogs get dogs shots they don't need.
That's gonna be the issue, because the government that we had, when have they never not tried to make money? And I think Justin actually just made a very dope point. Probably got the best idea that I've seen, honestly.
Oh, that's dope, Karashang.
This one right here, I'm 100% behind that.
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, just think of it like the NRA. Then you have the local
even then,
carry.
You go to
all of that. Like, you're required to show something, but you need to be
so
verified before you purchase.
you go to Costco or Sam's Club, you have to pay a membership to even get in the door.
Yeah, and that's, I think, as a whole too, that when people pay for stuff, they'll pay more attention. Because I think another thing that is odd when people say they are members and they have no idea that this law is being proposed. Like, so that means you're not reading the alerts. So I think, though, typically when people invest more into something, they take care of it or they manage it better. Because I think that's another thing. We need to be in tune to what's happening. Like right now, if an email went out and said everybody needs to be at USARK Florida tomorrow at 10 o'clock, there's a town hall. If people are not reading those emails, they won't know whether you're a member or not. Hey, Elaine. Elaine says should be allowed to vend shows or even have a Morph Market account if you're not. I agree. If you're not a USARK member, we also need big celebrity name behind USARK. Imagine if Keanu Reeves did commercials for us.
I think Keanu Reeves is gonna do some commercials for the dog people.
That's probably not, like I said, because there's a whole bunch of celebrities who own reptiles, who probably don't even know about USARK. Too many missed marketing opportunities. I also think USARK should hire a fundraiser like other nonprofits do. They get paid more when they bring in more donors and members.
But that's part of the issue, though. We have to get more people to support them so they have more funds to do things like that.
Right, but I'll talk about that offline. But I will say this: that's where that communication piece is big, because clearly there's more work to be done. I can tell you that personally, I've reached out and I still haven't heard yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, what do you need me to do? Like, what? Not nothing, specific. I didn't say only this, only that. What do you need me to do to help support? Because I do think that you have a lot of people who will be willing to support in different ways. But it seems like there is some type of, like, it should be a way for people to sign up to be volunteers. Let me say that right now. And you know what I'm saying?
Another idea, a lot of these big time breeders that people look up to, Brian Barczyk, I can't really speak on it, but Justin Kabelka, Miguel, why aren't they spokespeople for USARK? Because obviously people listen to them when it comes to breeding, and people, they kind of control the market. Well, not kind of, they control the market for a lot of ball pythons out there, and they have mass followings. So of
But
course, if
they
they're talking
do.
about
I
it,
would say Justin for sure and Miguel for sure.
I'm not saying they don't promote it, but I'm saying why not make them like spokespeople for US art?
So I think that's why the US Art Channel was kind of started, to kind of like be inclusive with who the spokespeople would be, and though both of those people are on that, they are on that channel. So on the US Art Channel, that's why they started doing those weekly interviews with people, bringing taking over USR. That's the USR takeover. That's one of the things that was supposed to do. Now, but going to what Elaine said, and similar to what you're saying, I will say to do it on the level that it's effective. I don't think, of course, you're talking about Justin and Miguel. They're going to have time to do that because of their position still in their collections. But if, let's say, if they had a spokesperson for Canova, you know what I mean, who could do it. Like, it may not be Justin himself, but you know what I mean, but that could do it. That would probably good. But I like the celebrity thing, because at the end of the day, celebrities also attract different people to the hobby, because that's another thing that we need in order for
Not
the
even just
hobby to
that.
be successful.
Not even just that, but you quick to see a lot of musicians use snake in music videos. Why not?
Yeah. Yeah.
Snake, like,
And those are things that, again, I think that, because the one thing that should be more streamlined is that, people should be able to volunteer more openly. Like, it seems like it's a select of who. There's no application process to become a member of the board that I see anyway. And if I'm wrong, y'all can direct me there. I know I reached out directly and just tell me, what you need me to do to help, to support it. So, and that's, that's straight on volunteer. That's not, people, not jobs. This is people volunteering at time.
right.
Few people outside the industry know who Justin is. Gotta get someone big. Yep. That's so. The funniest thing is that it's so true. Like, within the ball python community, he's who he is. But outside of that, it was one of the jokes, Elaine, when I ran into him at Bigger Pockets. He was at Bigger Pockets and I was at Bigger Pockets. And of course, everybody knows that Ozzy was there, because that's one of the reasons why we had went, me and my husband. So I'm coming out of my room, and we're getting onto the elevator, and Justin gets on the elevator. I'm like, "Hey, Justin," and he was like, "Oh my God, you know who I am?" Because he thought finally he was somewhere where nobody would know who he was. So it's so true. Like, and he said that, nobody knows who I am outside of Bull Python. So it was so funny to be at somewhere that wasn't Bull Python related, and someone, as soon as he get on the elevator, somebody say, "Hey, Justin." So it was pretty cool. But you're right. No one knows who Justin or any of those people are, outside of Bull Pythons. We forget that, because this is a community that we live in. Also, it would cut down on all these impulse buys if you're required to take proper steps in selling buying animals. That's fact. I will tell you this. They definitely restrict me on how many guns I can buy. My husband is a collector. I am not. In Maryland, you have to wait 30 days in between. It drives me crazy, because by the time I buy one gun, you know what I'm saying? I want to buy
You ready
the
for
one
another?
next to it.
Listen,
but you're right, Elias. That's a perfect point.
I just bought two the other day and went back and bought
My
one
husband
more.
can do that. Like, he can go buy
Yeah.
this one, this one, this one, and this one. So I would tell you though, but that's a perfect example, right? So, and that's say the difference. My husband, when he did all of his paperwork, he knew he wanted to collect guns. I just knew I needed enough to be, successful, protective, protect my home with. But he's into them. But I will tell you that, let's say if there was a higher tier that I could pay without doing all the paperwork right now, they say you can upgrade your license for this amount of money today, I would do it just so I can, you know what I mean, buy them all
Get
at
that
one
one
time.
and that one and that one, and I'm gonna be back.
Exactly.
Listen,
So
I had
that's
to.
a good
I
point.
needed a summer carry.
Miguel could have done more selling the snake to Ozzy Osbourne.
No, he did an
Next,
actual
I
video with
would love
Ozzy
to have
Osbourne.
an ID for you. It's off like my driver's license. I wear that thing like a work badge. Um, so technically, you can download the badge, and but you got to do all the work. You know what I mean? Like it's not like you got to do all the work. But yeah, I agree. And
Hmm.
if we got to the place where Elaine is talking about and the place that Bosa is talking about, that would be required. If you went into a pet store or if you went into a Wolf Market, you would need that card and the ID number in order to purchase the animal. I mean, I just think that I don't know why. Well, I guess part of it is that because you got to keep in mind that USARK is not a part of the government, so they can't require it. Now Wolf Market on their platform could require it, but are they willing to sacrifice that? For maybe they're afraid of the underground market, you know what I mean, but then that's where the breeders would come into play. So I just really think that is a way that we can come together on one conclusion to do this, like literally. Yeah. All right, so we got through all of that. It's now 9:12. So Dre, you working today or you off today?
I gotta work, but I'm probably gonna take a half day because I gotta get some other stuff done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You still got baby girl?
No, I go get her later.
Oh, okay. All
Yeah.
right. Well, we're gonna give you all your morning back. I hope for all of y'all who still get to enjoy today off that you have an amazing day. Where I'm returning back to my bed. I
Hope
still
everybody
got
had
my
a happy
grandkids who
holiday.
probably won't go home until they gotta go back to school or whatever. But they haven't picked up their other gifts, so hopefully in the middle of the week I can convince them that they still got other places to go, but they love it here and they don't have to go. So I still have them. So I'll go in. They up now, but they're playing with everything they received yesterday. So it's funny how normally you'll see the little one come down by now. He upstairs playing with something. I can hear him. He up there having a good old time. So I hope everybody
Mhm.
enjoyed their Christmas. Remember, on New Year's Eve, we're going to have our nice little New Year's party. We're going to be sipping on some reptiles and cocktails. I might even drink Hennessy and eggnog that night. But yeah, so join us. It's going to be fun. It's definitely going to be fun for me to kind of run there. It's already fun, like going back, looking at some of the videos from the very first ones and just enjoying some of the moments that we had. And I think that's all we have for right now. And we'll see you guys next week on Two Peas in a Podcast. What are you laughing at?
You missed it. When you said something, I rolled my eyes.
What I say? And why you roll your eyes?
Because that's a sensitive subject. Hennessy and eggnog.
Oh, okay.
You
Like,
trying
it's
to drink with
really
me,
rolling
but
your eyes at me. The ID could have your picture on it and speaks as you speak. People
nah,
agree.
that's doing a lot because it's dope. But we'll see, one step at a time. I definitely think we need to definitely do something because unfortunately, these bans that they keep proposing ain't going anywhere.
Nope. And they're getting worse and worse. So, with that being said, everybody have an awesome Monday, and we'll see you guys the next time. Peace.